Notre Dame has landed a top defensive back in the class of 2023. Justyn Rhett is the seventh commitment for Notre Dame's class. All seven are rated 4 stars, and now the Fighting Irish have the number one recruiting class in the 2023 team rankings. I'm Greg Ladky, joined by Mike Singer, recruiting expert for blueandgold.com. Mike, your initial thoughts on this big news for the Fighting Irish?
Big news. That is it. I mean, this is a huge recruiting get for Notre Dame. In my 2.5 years covering Fighting Irish football recruiting, Greg, the first class was 2020, and that DB class was okay. Ramon Henderson, a good piece. Clarence Lewis, a good piece. And then you get into 2021 cycle, stronger. Ryan Barnes was a really good get. Kari G, JoJo Johnson, just a few of the strong players they got in that class. 2022, they get some top of the board guys and Jaden Bellamy, Benjamin Morris, and really good group. And now 2023 with Justyn Rhett and a Don Schuler committed early on. I mean, these are elite prospects, A+ gets for Notre Dame. I mean, we have Justyn Rhett's rivals page pulled up. You can see Alabama there at the bottom right, and an offer from Alabama. Georgia was a finalist for him. LSU, Michigan, Oklahoma. I mean, big time offers. Oregon, USC. I mean, Justyn Rhett, one of the best cornerback prospects in all of the country. This is really a huge get. 6 foot, 190 pounds. I remember talking to his dad when I was out at Bishop Gorman in October, and he was like, "Man, every once in a while I got to be like, Justyn, you're getting too big. Like, you're
Yeah.
going to grow yourself out of being a corner." But man, he is physical, moves so well, excellent coverage ability, ran really well at Notre Dame for Irish Invasion, the 40-yard dash. I mean, this is one that Notre Dame fans need to be absolutely fired up about.
And this is video you shot this fall, Mike, and you just gave a little bit of a breakdown, but you spent some time out there in Las Vegas, and what were some of your other takeaways from seeing him in person?
Well, the takeaway is that they blew the team out pretty quickly, so we didn't get to see him do a ton. There was almost an interception you'll see here on this play, but I mean, he's very physical. Again, 6 foot, 190 pounds. He's great size for a cornerback. Ran a 4.43 40-yard dash at Notre Dame back on June 6th. And that's before he was even a junior in high school,
Yeah.
Greg. I mean, so he's got the size, the short area quickness, runs a 4.4. I mean, this kid can really do it all. And he's someone, if cornerback doesn't work out, I promise you it will. But if it doesn't, for whatever chance, I mean, I could see him bulking up to be a rover if he needs to be. He could be a safety. I mean, Notre Dame fans, you can see it in my face and hear it in my voice, just like how jacked up I am about this commitment for the Fighting Irish. Because, I mean, from a ranking standpoint, from watching his tape, from looking at his offer list, whatever it is, Justyn Rhett's a huge pickup for Notre Dame. Comes from a powerhouse program at Bishop Gorman in Vegas.
Hmm.
It's been a while since Notre Dame signed someone from there, and they've signed some big time players from there. So this is just continuing that.
Yeah, Ronnie Stanley, one of them of note. You and I both saw Justyn Rhett at the Rivals 5 Star Challenge this summer, and I agree with you. I mean, he's a big kid already. You got to remember he hasn't even started his junior year of high school at this point. My next question for you, Mike, in terms of what you're watching on this video, who on the Notre Dame staff deserves credit for all this, and particularly Notre Dame's ability to get commitments from elite defensive backs early on in the process?
I mean, yeah, look, there's been a shift since when Marcus Freeman got here earlier this year. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And these clips you're seeing, he won the DB MVP at this camp. And I'm going to be honest with you, he was, holding a little bit, like he was being a little physical. Probably got flags on some of those, but just him going through these drills and how, like, he looks like $1,000,000 in those clips. Like he was the DB MVP just based on that.
Yeah.
But going back to your question, I mean, yeah, Marcus Freeman and these guys, since they came in January, it's taken defensive recruiting to a different level. I mean, look, Clark Lee, in the guys before him, like Notre Dame's defense has been very good, but it's just it's national championship caliber level now. And Justyn Rhett is a national championship caliber recruit. Freeman, Mickens really led the way. Mickens was just out to see Rhett at Bishop Gorman, I believe this week, or if not last week. Chad Bowden, defensive director of recruiting, gets credit as well for a lot of that daily contact.
Mhm.
Notre Dame did a really good job in the recruitment, no doubt about it. I mean, since that June 6th Irish invasion where he did run that 4.43 40-yard dash, Notre Dame was the leader. I mean, this kid just fits Notre Dame. His dad, Troy, was a college DB. I believe at an FCS program in New York, if I'm not mistaken. He really valued Notre Dame. It was Notre Dame all the way from him. It was just kind of about getting to that point where he wanted to commit, and he knew Notre Dame was the choice for him after the USC game when he visited for in October.
Some additional really cool context about that 5-star challenge video we just showed, and I'll roll it again. This wasn't a normal year for that event. This is an elite national event that Rivals.com runs, and normally Rivals will pay for the travel for kids to come from across the country, put them up in a nice hotel room, so on and so forth. But because of the COVID pandemic, that wasn't the situation. The kids were coming on their own accord and figuring out their own place to stay. And Justyn Rhett shows up from Nevada, from Las Vegas. This event was in Atlanta, Georgia. Speaks, Mike, don't you think, a little bit to just his competitive nature?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He wanted to come compete. He also, I believe, camped at Alabama and Georgia while he was in town
That
too. So
works.
he made those drives. So a lot of recruits did do that. They, went and did a visit at Alabama or Georgia Tech or Georgia while they were in town. But yeah, and should mention again, had offers from both of those schools.
Right.
Alabama was certainly in pursuit of him. So speak to his competition and willingness to go. And those guys in those videos that no scrubs were allowed at those events. It was
No.
all Power Five recruits, and again, he showed out.
Yeah, it's a great pickup for Notre Dame. They have a big weekend right currently on campus, and we are breaking down Justyn Rhett here on Saturday evening. But is there anything Notre Dame fans should look forward to as to what's next with signing day for the class of 2022 beginning on Wednesday?
Yeah, I mean, Billy Schrauth committed on Friday. That was obviously huge news. I mean, we're just gonna have to see if there's any, late surprises,
Mhm.
good or bad. Can they? Does Devin Moore from Naples, Florida, the 2022 cornerback, another very physical player,
Yeah.
very high on him. Does he go to Florida this weekend and say, yeah, you know what? I remember my 2 visits to Notre Dame in October. That's really where I want to be. Notre Dame's hoping for that scenario. And then do they keep CJ Williams? Do they lose CJ Williams? Amarion Walker, what happens there? 2 talented receivers. And then for the 2023 class this weekend, Christian Gray is on campus from St. Louis De Smet, a cornerback recruit in Rhett's grade. So you have Schuler committed, the very talented all-state performer in New Jersey. Love him at the safety position. You get Rhett. Can you go get Christian Gray? What about Caleb Downs, another super 5-star caliber safety from the Atlanta area? I mean, DB recruiting in 2023, guys, it is off to a hot start.
Yeah, stay tuned to blueandgold.com. Follow Mike Singer on Twitter at Mike T. Singer. And thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you hit like on this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll have plenty of Notre Dame football recruiting content in the days ahead. Thanks again.